We're in Leyton, so it's the Waltham Forest borough. So we have around about 26 sites in Waltham Forest. The waiting list is actually really long. I mean, you can wait decades to get a plot. I think in London there must be at least 78 allotment societies. So it is still a thriving thing to do, having an allotment, and still in demand. So it's very much surrounded by new builds, motorways and urban life. I'm Sarah and this is my allotment. I have been here on this plot for about 10 years. I took over from my mum who brought us up on the allotments. We lived in a tower block, so this is a good source of us getting out, growing, eating good food. So I've actually been over here on this site for roughly 45 years. Love having free water. These are fabulous. These are daffodils. These are yellow raspberries. Very sweet. You've got buds already starting to grow on some of them, and then some of them need to be cut back a little bit. It's a space that you rent from either the council or, in our case, or a parish, and you pay a year rate to grow vegetables and fruits. You're not supposed to sell the fruits on or anything like that, but it's just a good way to grow and get decent food that's not supermarket bought. So that one's just in the ground. That's not being forced. And I'll show you the one that is being forced. So these ones have got collars on them. So these are slightly more advanced as other ones as they're starting to grow. This one over here is the same method. That's one of the oldest ones. That was probably one of the first plants that I put in. And then each year I separate and then plant some elsewhere. I used to work night shift, so it's a good way to kind of get over and expel some energy and get some daylight before I went back to work, which was quite good. So I've been sort of like coming over and actually gardening and doing it properly for about 10, 15 years. It's quite good because you can kind of dip in and out, but then you need to function in if you're going to be sick or when you're not going to be here. Things crop up, so you have to try and be on top of it. Otherwise, it gets to be a bit of a nightmare and a mess and more hard work. But it's still great fun. It's good to come over, get out and be at one with nature, even with the aeroplanes and the motorway. So this is one of my little water butts next to one of the compost heaps. I've got more compost in here cooking and hopefully decomposing. A lot of that is actually rhubarb leaves and rhubarb stems. I have another one here with some lovely healthy worms that are needing to go back in because they're trying to get into there. If I can get it. There you go. I described my allotment as definitely a work in progress, which is still a work in progress. You can get it looking as good as you can, me being one person doing it all on my own, working full time. But it's organised chaos, and even sort of like with help from neighbours that kind of would chop down trees for me. It still takes a lot of hard work. Each area I try and have a space for water. So this is all mainly rainwater. That's it. So I kind of half leave it on, half leave it off, and then it just fills up. Plastic bottles, the main thing I normally do with them is I put them into the ground, and then in the summer I can water actually the roots and not the top of soil, which just evaporates straight away. It's a good way of scaring the birds as well, And they're great for cane protectors, because if you have canes around, you can bend over and take an eye out with it. So it's good to have something over the top of them so you can keep safe as well. Not much water supply over here. We do have mains, but because we've got so many plots on this site, there's not much water in the summer. We're at the top of the allotment and it goes down a slope. Somehow the water has to be fed up to the top part here, so we are often without water. So I have probably about 8 or 9 water butts that I have to use sparingly throughout summer, so hence having to put bottles into the ground and water the roots and do sort of like planting in such an area where I don't have to disperse loads of water everywhere. So I might just have one area that I'll use for summer crops, another area I'll put for winter crops. So my guttering fouled a bit, or somebody stole it. We won't say that, it is East London though. So I just created a water chute with old bottles, and it comes from the gutter into the water tank or the water bin. It gives me hope to actually get out of the house sometimes. I hadn't been very well. I was waiting for surgery on my wrist, which I couldn't get over in peak growing season. So I had to try and prepare for growing limited kind of spaces and limited produce, which still actually worked out quite well. I do actually have a garden at home, so I could grow vegetables over there and some tomatoes, which was so good for my mental health. I was desperate to come over, but I couldn't keep the surgery or get the surgery scars or dirty or infected, which kept me away from the allotment because it was dusty and dirty. The tree must have been about a good 12 foot taller. My lovely neighbour actually cut it down for me and cut it back. So then I had to cut back all the branches, which I'm going to be reusing. So I'm going to use some as stakes and make supports for plants. Some I've chopped down into twigs, so they're good for the bugs, and left them along the side of the side paths. Throughout the summer, as soon as something's ready, it's always picked, taken home and cooked probably that day or in the next few days. It's fantastic the amount of food that we can eat once it's ready. Sometimes there's so much, you get a glut of it and then you can preserve it. I put down the weed membrane just to keep the soil warm and hopefully weed free, and then I can just work around the edges. We exchange seeds. I basically save seeds as well, so if something is a plant that has seeds in it, I'll save the seeds and then propagate them the following year. So basically I'll plant something like onions or garlic. I put these over the top to stop the foxes, the squirrels and the birds getting into them, and it just kind of helps protect the seeds. I always have the staples, so I have spinach, chard, chives, rhubarbs, strawberries, raspberries, apple tree, cherry tree. Then I'll grow things like lavenders. I like lavenders to take home because it's good to sleep. I like plants and flowers, so it's good for bringing in the bees. So it's like potatoes, sweet corn, courgettes, runner beans, peas, carrots, main staples. And the odd weird thing that I like to grow is different types of squashes, which actually did very well last year, even though I wasn't overwatering all the time. They seem to grow fantastically, and I still have a couple that I can still use, so it's fabulous. It's good to try and grow something different each year.